Hello and welcome to the Social Recruiting Show. I'm Katrina, Collier, candidate engagement author and speaker. I'm of course joined by my gorgeous co-host Audra and I, employer branding genius, who currently has a very purple fringe, like very, very purple, which must mean there's an event coming up. I'm super excited today to be talking to Heidi Wassini because we met at an extremely strange conference a few years back and I've heard her speak and think she's amazing. So very excited to have you on the show, Heidi. Welcome.
Thank you very much. I'm very excited to be here.
Awesome. Thank you, Heidi. Could you start by giving us a little background as to how you got into the recruitment talent acquisition space?
Absolutely. I actually started out a completely different place because I became an English Spanish translator. That's my education. And then after that, I joined the mobile business, the tele product manager for a number of years. And then it was very dynamic. So they were upscaling, downscaling all the time. Yeah. And eventually it was just kind of, I was moving from one company to another and another. And I was just like, okay, maybe I should just stop and to figure out what I actually want to do rather than just following the career path that I was on. And I've never been one to just sit around at home and just look into the wall. So I decided to join a company as a temp, and it became a permanent position. And that's how I got into recruitment. Mm-hmm. And that was back in 2007, I think it was. And after 6 months...
So you actually strategically went in. You didn't fall into it like the rest of us.
No, it was just like, there's a temp position here, so do you want that? And I was like, actually, when I started there, I was like, oh my gosh, I completely forgot. I wanted to, when I was first finished with my education, I really wanted to work with HR. Yeah. But the unemployment rate was sky high in Denmark at that point. So you were just lucky to get any kind of job. And then it just developed from there, and I never got into HR. And then suddenly I was there, and then I didn't kind of feel like my career was going fast enough. So I was lucky enough after a year that I got my first recruiter job, and then it's just been going uphill from there.
So did you start inside a company or did you start in an agency? Do they have
always inside a company? I've never been in an agency before now.
Okay. So sorry. Oh yeah, tell us your news. Yeah.
What, sorry?
News. Tell us your news. What's happening on Monday?
Oh, yeah. I'm starting my new job on Monday.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so coming back after maternity leave.
Heidi had twins. Heidi's tired. Sometimes Heidi doesn't make sense. So you've been pre-warned. Those twins would exhaust anybody, though. What are they, 18 months old?
15 months old. They just started learning how to walk. So they're obviously walking in each direction, running around and falling off the couches and all that.
Perfect time to start a new job then.
Exactly. That's why I have a husband. He can take care of the kids.
There you go.
When you get too tired, go back to work. That's what it is.
Exactly.
So what's the plan? What's the job? What are you doing? Tell us all. Spill the beans.
I'm actually starting a different kind of company this time because it's not an in-house and it's not heading up recruitment or whatever. So it's a personality test company that's called Master Denmark. They also have an international brand that's called Master International, but this one is for the Danish brand. Yeah. And I'm starting as a senior consultant. So basically, I will be promoting and selling and key account managing all these personality tests. But what I think is really interesting is that they are a very evidence and knowledge-based company, and they want to be the leading advisor and the sparring partner for companies within HR, primarily recruitment and people development. And she's really ambitious, the CEO of the company. I love what she's doing.
She's a she. That's even better.
Yeah, it is. I mean, she's really ambitious, and she's already now, like within the last year, things has been happening around the company. Even before I applied, I was like, okay, there's some things going on there. And then I applied for the position, and the more I got to learn about it, the more I was like, this is ambitious. I want to be part of this.
So what makes their product different from other stuff that's out there? Because obviously there's lots of these, right?
Well, first of all, there are tons of personality tests. And like I said to her, if it was just any kind of personality test, I wouldn't be working for them. If that was all it was about, I wouldn't be working for them, because that doesn't bring anything. To me, it's not the test that brings it. It's everything around the test. So first of all, I need to work for a company in which product I believe in. There are a couple
Yeah.
of companies that I wouldn't be working for, and there are a couple of companies that I want to be working for. And this is one of them.
Oh, there's
And then I
companies
haven't
you
said too
start
much.
working for and then think, what am I doing?
Exactly. Well, you just have a preference for some things over some other things. But what I really find interesting is that she really wants to change the way people think HR. She wants to take it to the next level. And she's quite ambitious about that. And she wants everything based on data and evidence, which is pretty cool. So like you said, what's surrounding it is it's not only the personality test, it's everything you put around the personality test. It's the knowledge that goes behind the way you can use the personality test, because the test is just a test. It's everything around it, everything, the knowledge that goes around it.
Is it for employees or is it for screening before you hire someone, or either?
It's for before it. Well, they have different kinds. They both have for screening or for testing people before you hire, but they also have team development type tests.
Say that 3 times fast on a Friday with a glass of wine.
I was like, type. It was okay. Type tests.
Yeah, I just put my teeth back in. So is the idea that you can kind of sit and work out the team fit, etc. as well? So that
you should do that. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, it's the first contract I've ever had where it says part of my contract is to keep updated, for example, through conferences and courses, etc. And I'm like, okay, I can live with that.
SourceCon Amsterdam, here we come.
Exactly.
I need to be able to source leads for my new job.
Exactly. I mean, I need to be updated. So
yeah. Oh, that's really cool. So obviously that kind of leads into our topic, isn't it? Which has completely gone out of my head. I'm having my Friday moment. So the talent acquisition is the key to a company's growth. So when we were chatting about that, you were kind of saying it's crazy that we don't invest in the people who bring in the people and like that whole. So do you want to tell me more about why this is a topic and why you want to shake up the world?
I think one of the things that I think is interesting is that we put tons of money into developing the people and retaining the people when they're there. That's definitely, at least in Denmark, a trend that you see, that there's tons of people development and leadership development and all these things. But you kind of forget that the material that you have to work with, of course, are the existing employees, but then there's all the people coming in. And with a turnover rate between anywhere from 10 to 25%, depending on the business and the area, then there's a good business case in actually putting a little bit more focus into the people that you hire, rather than just using all the money on the people that you have in the company.
Yeah.
Or the people that do the hiring.
Exactly.
It's crazy how little money they get to invest in themselves in training for being better recruiters or better tools, or like it's all quite mind-blowing.
It's ridiculous. I mean, right now, a senior recruiter is somebody who has a couple of years of experience. And it's looked upon as a kind of like, that's where you start. It's not like real HR, but that's where you start so you can do the real thing like being a partner. There are very, very few people who actually see recruiting as a professional part. And the newest trend in Denmark is that you have to be a sourcer, a researcher, and a recruiter. And those are completely different skills, which makes it even more interesting.
So just because I saw this, somebody going literally off. I mean, and you can tell that they're standing on a soapbox yelling on LinkedIn, and they were going, recruitment doesn't fall in HR, talent acquisition is its own function. And but it sounds very much like in Denmark, it's not. It's quite within HR.
Oh, it's definitely within HR, yeah. That is. And to me, it should be like the center of HR.
Yeah.
Really? See, I can see them being separated.
No, because basically when I work with talent acquisition, what I do is I utilize everything that we have in the company. You need to look at the employee engagement. You need to look at the exit. You need to look at how people are doing and developing. Who are the talents in the company? What makes them good talents? What kind of leadership program do you have? What are the skills that you have or the competencies that you have as a leader? When you take all that info and you put it into your strategy, and then you look at the business strategy, combine that, and then you look into all the other different kinds of the things that you need to do in order to succeed in finding these people, the right match.
I don't think most recruiters do all of that. But that, like, I just don't think they do. It
so
sounds like completely novel to me.
But that's why it's so operational still, because people are the recruiters themselves are not being strategic either. And and if they wanna be part of it, like I had a manager tell me one time, you're just HR, you're just costing money. And I looked straight at him and I said to him, you know what? If I don't either save you money or make you help earn money, then I shouldn't be here.
Yeah. It's hard to
Are you being distracted by the strange chat going on in the side channel?
Yeah, that, and then I can hear my babies crying outside. So,
for anyone listening to the podcast, currently Audra is being attacked by the cat, and there are goldfish eating each other. So this is why you should tune in live and join the side channel.
But I think one thing is that a lot of like head ups think of recruitment as something you just have to have versus like revenue generating if they do a great job, right?
Exactly. Yeah. And I think it's because a lot of recruiters don't have the necessary. See, when I first started in HR, and I was part of rolling out all these programs, the first thing I said was, where's the return of investment? How do we know that all the money, the millions of kroners that we invest in these different programs, how do we know that we get return of investment? Because I was from a product manager. It was all about show me the money. What can we earn, And they just looked at me in shock and they were like, well, you can't measure that. And I'm like, sure, you can measure it. And then, Dave Ulrich and all these things started coming out. And I think what I took with me was that I will never do anything where I can't show the profit. So I'm either saving you money or I'm making you money. And I'll show you how I do it in each and every part of the process that I'm doing.
So you
could put money on anything.
Yeah. For recruiters, what ways do you do it?
What, sorry?
What are your KPIs, like time to fill or quality of hires, or what ways do you show revenue?
How do you show that? And also, who taught you to do that? Like, or did you just naturally think that way? Because
it's actually interesting because I had a really, really awesome mentor, and she taught me a lot that I know about strategic recruitment. And I think one of the things that she was very interested in how you take. I'm sorry, baby's crying again.
I can even hear baby's crying this time.
What was I saying? She was very interested about how you take your competencies and then use them in a different skill set. She was the one who hired me to my job in Copenhagen airports. And what I was actually part of doing was the first time I was doing a recruitment strategy. She said like, hey, do you want to do that? And I'm like, I don't know. I've only been working with recruitment for a year. I don't know how am I supposed to do that. And she was basically, well, how would you do a product strategy? I'm like, oh, that's easy. You just do a SWOT analysis and then you do this and then you do that. And she's like, well, that's what you do in recruitment too. And just by that mindset, it kind of clicked to me that a lot of the things that I was doing in my communications background, as in my through my formal education, combined with all the years of product management, I could actually take these skills and then convert it into HR. So what I do measure is, for example, time to recruit.
Book.
Yeah.
What, sorry?
There's your future book.
It's already been written by Jeff Grout, so I don't think I need to read it to do that.
But the way you write it will be a different way of communicating the same points.
True.
So you look at my favorite book, The Life Affirming Magic of Not Giving a that word, which I absolutely love. There's one by Sarah Knight, and somebody wrote one practically the same at the same time. But I want Sarah Knight's one because I prefer the way she writes.
Yeah.
So I bet you would explain it in a completely different way.
True.
So, and the world needs another female author.
Yeah.
So.
But I just think it's I don't know. I think some of the things that always surprise me when I do my speaker sessions is that to me, some of this used to be, I'm thinking like, this is so basic. But when I speak to people, when I talk to people, and when I go out there, I realize that the majority of recruiters just don't think like that.
Yeah. The reason that it's basic to you is because it's your natural gift and you're in flow. So whatever's easy for us. I
realize that.
That's our gift. And other people will be like, so you should share it more, and you should, yeah. Because I don't even think I've heard this before. Have you, Audra?
Oh, I was just thinking it's kind of similar to me when I talk about marketing concepts to recruiters.
Exactly.
To me, I'm like, this is so simple, but But to them, it's like, whoa, this is so different. But at the same time, they know a ton of things I don't know. I'm not saying, I mean, they know a ton of stuff I don't understand, but that's natural for me. It's the same thing.
Yeah, but it's, you don't have to be an expert in anything, everything. Be an expert in your piece.
Yeah.
I just think it needs to be shared more, Heidi.
I'm doing my best.
Good. Do more. Don't worry about the babies. According to Audra, they're out on the lawn anyway. Right.
I'm curious about what you do speak about when you do speak, Heidi.
Well, actually, I'm going to Kiev in 2 weeks.
That's such a lovely conference. You'll enjoy that.
Yeah, I can't wait. I know that you spoke there last year, I think it was.
Yeah, they're really lovely.
Yeah, I'm really excited about it. And what I'm going to speak about, what I usually speak about, is either how to attract, recruit, and retain top performers, or I speak about candidate experience.
Wow.
I think you should be talking about making recruitment a profit center, like talent acquisition a profit center, and like how you did that. Because actually, I don't know how many people are talking about that.
That's actually pretty interesting. That should be. I think I'm going to write that down, Katrina. That's going to be my next one. For sure. That's true. Because that's what I
Karen just said that would be super useful for me right now. I reckon half the people in the Slack channel would, in the DBR, would also. I know you're not in there. Sorry, but Karen is. Would also be going. Because it's that thing, oh, you're just a support function. Oh, no, I'm not. I'm the person bringing in the people that make the company productive. Like
exactly. I really hate when people call recruitment a support function. No, we're not a support function. We're a business unit that helps you earn or save money. That's it.
Passion that just
we drive the business. We're ensuring that the people can make you money. If I can hire you somebody who is high performer at a faster rate than the majority of the people that comes into the business, you will be making a lot more money. I did one when I was in an engineering company. I actually did a business case on how much more money we could save if people came into the company just 30 days faster, and that they were onboarded about 2 months faster. And then that they performed a certain number of percentage better because of the way we hired them. And we're talking about millions of kroners that the company can save per candidate.
And there's your book right there.
Yeah.
I'm so going to make that happen. I'm like so introducing you to Kogan Page because that needs to be written down. And you just lit up when you said it, like your whole body just went. And that's why the topic of the show was chosen, because you were talking about like, this is ridiculous. But for you, it's easy, and that's great that it's easy, but you have to share it, make it easy for everyone else. And while you're saying all of this, like Karen is saying down the side here, honestly, trying to justify any spend to help me do my job is so hard. And Alex Brock has written, recruitment should promote itself as an investment rather than a cost. But it's knowing how to do that. Yes,
exactly.
So if you talk the language of cost, it's seen as a cost.
Simple, to be quite honest. It's actually pretty simple because no, but for anybody, because all the numbers are out there. You just need to know what you're looking for. For example, one thing that I always ask the company I started is, what is your employee turnover? And they know that, but then the majority of companies don't know how many leave the company within the first year. Calculate that. Calculate how many people leave within the first year. We know a mishire is somebody who leaves the company within the first year. And we know that it costs between 100 and 200% of a yearly salary to hire the wrong person. There's your business case. Just one number.
Yeah. I have a question about this. You said onboard them 2 months sooner. How do you do that?
Well, to me, there's to me, there's the whole pre-boarding phase, which a lot of companies don't do. It's basically you sign the contract and then you come in, like in Denmark, it will typically be 1.5 months later, maybe 2 months later, because we have a 1 month notice period. And then it's like you sign the contract and then you're getting a letter saying, okay, come and meet us 9 o'clock that day. And that's basically all the communication that there is from the day you sign the contract to the day they start. You should start onboarding people from then. That's the time they're most motivated to know everything about the company. Send them company strategies. Send them enroll them in the company already there. That's one thing. Next thing is what I say, there's a difference between introducing people to a company onboarding people to a company and making them time to perform shorten that. So if you're introducing, this is like, here's the coffee machine and there's the bathrooms, and that's an introduction to the company. When you onboard them, which the majority of the companies do today, it's like, well, here's your colleagues and these are your key stakeholders, etc. What you need to do is you need to get them to do their tasks as fast as possible. You need to introduce them to the strategy and the goals and the KPIs and everything else, and then get them into a role as soon as possible. And when you do that,
it's all the nuances, isn't it, as well? Like the little subtleties. So on top of being bought into all of that, it's like if they've got an onboarding buddy, you can sort of show them all the silly stuff. Yeah. Like, you know, who has the toner cartridges for the printer and all this kind of shit that can stump you for an hour. Yeah, just the silly stuff that's not written down absolutely anywhere. Or all the unwritten rules about, you know, well, Heidi's actually your go-to person for this, but we haven't written that down anywhere. That kind of stuff, that's all what you're talking about, isn't it?
Absolutely, yeah. I think there definitely that can hinder your performance in the company too. But I think some of it is more like it takes too long before you actually hand over actual assignments to the candidates. And you need to do it faster than they're doing today. And then there are different kind of I mean, for example, instead of having a buddy, why don't you have a mentor? Why don't you have a senior partner in the company that invests time in you, that can actually get you to and challenge you to the next level? That's the day you start. These are only in talent programs. That's when you get a mentor. Yeah. But everybody you hire should be a talent. Otherwise, you shouldn't hire them.
Oh, this sounds like the argument I had with Adam the other week.
Do any companies do that? Have you ever heard of companies doing that, where you have a mentor right from the start?
There are companies with mentors.
Yeah, but not from the start. No, they have buddies, but not like mentors or something like that. I mean, in reality, it should be like
I did find one. I'll have to pull it out. Oops. Did we lose Heidi?
No, I'm here.
Oh,
you just froze.
So at your new company, are you going to get that going?
What, sorry?
At your new company, I know you're just starting on Monday, but are you going to try and get that going and help them with that? Or maybe they already have some kind of...
No, that's not going to be my roles as much. I'm having like, my new role is like 4 different parts. One is to find new customers to sell personality tests to, and the other part is being a key account manager to the existing customers. So that's like the sales part of it. Then there's a third of my job that's about certifying people in the different personality tests. And then the last fourth of the job is basically inspiration. Maybe doing workshops, getting the knowledge out there, doing conferences and all that, writing articles and blogs and everything else. Yeah.
So you're not going to be really in recruitment anymore?
No, not really. I've completely changed paths. Yeah, and I think part of it is that I'm a little bit disillusionized. I just don't think that companies are ambitious enough, and I'm tired of being Don Quixote fighting the windmills. And I think that it's going to take some time.
Well, before you completely give up on us, write the book.
Yeah. Well, I'm sure I'm going back to recruitment at some point, but I just didn't feel like there were any of the positions that were out there that would enable me to do the changes that I think we should do. I don't think they're radical enough. They're too old-fashioned.
I wonder if that's a Denmark thing, though. I think you would find it different in different country. That's the thing.
See, the funny thing is I've had several people tell me that I'm too big for Denmark.
How rude to be told you're too big for your country.
Or not too big. Well, how do you say that in English? It's like the companies here.
I know what you mean. Yeah, I think Denmark is too small for your creative thinking, rather. But I do actually think it's a country thing. I think you'd be quite surprised. I appreciate you're all settled and everything. That's why I'm saying write the book. Debbie's already said she's going to get it. I'll get the book. Audra will get the book. There's 3 copies sold. By the way, it only completely and utterly takes over your life, but I'll be happy to help you get started.
Thank you. I think that would be a project when I have twins that are just a little bit more old.
No, but you could just do it part-time, you know, an hour here, an hour there. No?
I would say it's like the equivalent of you having 10 puppies.
One was enough.
Exactly.
So I'm trying to think. He's just turned 7, so I must have been just about 41 when I got him, and it was like my life had been turned upside down. Yeah. So when you said you were having twins at the age you were having them, I was like, oh, but he made me so exhausted, and I can leave him alone for 5 hours, exactly. Go out the door.
Exactly, and you just don't have any time at all. I mean, there's very limited time. But
so how are they helping you with that? Are you going to be able to work remotely and flexibly or?
Well, see, that's one of the things I love about this company. First of all, they have very flexible working hours. So if I work overtime, I actually can take those hours off and a different time, where in the past 10 years, it's always been including my salary to work extra hours. But they don't want that. They want a very healthy life balance. So they're very adamant about that. You can't have overtime. And if you do, then you have to take the hours sometime else. The second thing is it's only 20 minutes away from where I live, which is the shortest I've ever traveled to a job. So that's really fortunate too.
And it's great that you already speak and stuff. So, you better get clients that way rather than trying to.
We'll see. That's the one thing I've never done before. I've never sold anything before.
But you don't sell from stage. That's the thing. You've never seen me get up on stage and say, hey, buy my training or buy my whatever. Yeah. You get up and you add value and then people book you. So you get up and you talk about, you give a case study of, how a client did this and how that improved their recruitment or whatever. And it goes that way.
Yeah.
Your network within the recruitment community is going to be fantastic. I hadn't thought about that.
Yeah. I'm fortunate to have privilege to have a great network. I've never really learned how to do the whole sales part, but I also know that, I can sell sand in Sahara when I believe in it. And I believe in this, which is why I chose it. So I'm just thinking that, there's and that's one of the things. I wanted a job in every interview I've been to. I kept saying, I want a job where I don't know everything. Because the past couple of jobs I've had has been the same kind of thing. And it's been things I've been doing over and over again successfully. But it was just like, now it's my turn to learn. I want to be thrown out there and not know what I'm doing.
You might get questions like this one. So Karen's asking, do the tests, are they designed to pick up whether someone is trying to fake answers? Which we've all done, right? When we're like, they want this, so we're clicking that. So within the tests themselves, are they actually designed to pick up if someone is putting in fake answers, not truthful answers?
Well, see, that's why you need the right kind of tests. We could do a whole show on that. That's why you need to pick the right tests. The right test, there's one test that I have done that I have worked with for about 8 years. And I know every single question. There's about 256 different factors that you can measure on. And I know every single question, which factor it goes to, because I know the test so well, but I can't affect it. I can affect maybe 1 or 2 of them in a slight direction, but I can't do all 36 ones or 32 ones that you see in the test result. So it's basically about having a test that's both have a high validity and a high predictive value. And if you have that, and it's I always find the NLP one quite funny, because once you understand the common words in NLP, you can sit and read the test as you answer it, because it's because all the different words. It's quite amusing. What's going on in the channel about you being a terrible recruiter, Audra? What am I missing?
People often assume that I was a recruiter at some point, but I never have been. And I had to hire someone recently, and it was so hard. And I always had respect for recruiters, but now I get it even more so. So I appreciate it.
I thought you did it before you became what you do now.
No, people always think that, right?
Oh.
But it's always hardest to recruit for yourself, though.
Yeah, that's what someone was saying. That's interesting. Why is that?
I think because that's when your emotions get in the way. When you're sitting on the side, you don't have to be emotionally involved. But when it's somebody that you need to connect with, that's when you let your emotions and biases rule.
Interesting.
So
have they given you a lovely onboarding process during your time between offer and starting?
One of the things I'm starting on Monday, but she has invited me to all kinds of things like a seminar with the group that we're redesigning their website, and a conference that she's doing, and all kinds of things. So she invited me to all these things that were and different certifications of the tests. So basically, yeah, I think in that direction she has. But it's also a small company. And I think what I like about it is that they're quite authentic. It's just kind of, you feel, the more I get to know them, the more at ease I feel. There's no political games. It's just down to earth people. And it makes me feel relaxed.
It's nice, isn't it?
Yeah, it is.
Did you, during your, because, you know, I'm just getting down the gritty. So during your looking for a job thing, did you go through any bad experiences? Because I just love the way that, particularly if it's a recruiter going for a recruiter job or etc. around that field, we treat each other so badly. I just find it fascinating.
I have two examples. There's one job that I applied for in November, and I still haven't heard from them.
You interviewed or just sent in an application?
I sent an application. I still haven't heard anything but the receipts. Yeah.
Yeah, black hole.
Then I had another one where I interviewed. And before I sent the application, I called up and I talked with the HR director. And I said, you know, this is my situation. I'm a mom of twins, but we haven't worked out the way that I'm kind of the career woman at home. So my husband is taking care of the twins. He'll take the sick days and all these things. And I understand that there is a certain amount of travel, which is something I've done before, and I would be happy to do again. And we have it all figured out between us. So knowing that, would you still be interested in me sending an application? And she was like, yeah, that sounds interesting. And she heard my background, and she was like, sounds like a really good idea. Let's try to send your application. And she invited me to the interview. And then, like, in the middle of the interview, they started asking a lot of questions about my motivation for the job, and my whether or not it would be a problem for me to travel, and how did I think about being a new mom with the twin. And I'm like, okay, first off, you're bordering on a very gray zone, because that's illegal, the things you're asking me about right now. And you're telling it to somebody who's been working with recruitment for the past 12 years, which is not such a good idea in my view. And thirdly, why did you invite me to an interview when I already told you all these things up front? So just don't.
Respond?
And then when I got the rejection, I got it per email. That was a good one.
Yeah, that's nice, isn't it?
I spent about 2 hours during the application, about maybe 2 hours preparing for the interview. Then I had the interview, so maybe about 5 or 6 hours of my time, and what they could do was send me a standard email.
It's unbelievable.
Yeah.
I'm not working for that company.
It should never, ever, ever be that.
Nope.
I mean, even if you email to arrange a call and then someone chooses not to have a call, that's different. But it should be a call. It should be human to human. Look.
Yeah.
And we do that to our own. That's what annoys me. We do that to our own. So it's just like, you know, and we who know better. It's frustrating. Anyway, I don't know the change.
I mean, I always kind of feel like most of the jobs that I've applied for are jobs where I'm going to be bettering the recruitment process. So basically what I'm usually thinking is like, okay, there's something for me to do here.
Yeah, it is a challenge for you. Now, why was it 2 hours long? What kind of apply is 2 hours long? That's crazy.
What's sorry?
The
apply. Why did it take 2 hours to do the application?
Oh, because I'm slow? No. I'm daft.
Was that you changing your CV to match the job description, or was that the actual form you filled out?
No, the CV I don't change that much. It's the application that I do. And because I want to see exactly what they're writing in their job ad for me to match it. And I want to point out the different kinds of ways that I can make a difference to them. So for me, it's like a sales letter.
Yeah.
And I go on the website, I try to find anything I can about their strategy, about their business goals, about their setup of the company, what their visions are, what their values are, and all these things I try to relate to in my application.
That's smart.
Yeah, I know everybody thinks people just click and apply. I just don't think people do. I think they spend time.
Most people do. I mean, with the amount of applications I've read through.
Yeah. Audra, I think there's just a delay in being heard. That's all. It's
just for me or for everyone?
I think you to Heidi and me to Heidi. I think we're both having it. You and I aren't.
Yeah.
I'd say probably, because Heidi's internet's probably a tiny bit slower or something. But we can hear you
And
fine.
it's also lower. The volume is, for some reason, for Audra is lower than you, Katrina.
Oh, that's probably the settings on the...
Yeah.
I've got mine turned up probably on the actual computer. So, and I just talk loud. Or just probably talking quiet, like she always does. She's the dignified one of the two of us, except for that purple fringe. So...
Interesting point Mike has over here, but let me see if I can find it because it was so far back. Here we go. So he says, perhaps not a popular view, but to be honest, not until our corporate recruitment teams start making external placements and charging fees will we start being called a profit center. That's interesting.
Oh, really? That's interesting.
That.
Yeah.
What do you mean by that, Mike?
Yeah.
Well, we're going to start taking our own people and placing them outside.
Well, I've actually made that business case whether or not we should do external, whether we should outsource the recruitment function rather than doing it in-house. And in-house recruitment can do it way faster, cheaper, and higher quality. So there's that. Then
okay, acting like an agency. Okay.
Yeah. And the other part is that if you have that kind of discussion with your company, in my view, it's because they don't see you as a strategic function. And again, we're back to the business cases. Do you know exactly how much it costs you to hire? Do you know your cost of hire? Do you know your time to hire? Do you know how they perform, the people that come in? Do you know if they stay or not? Do you know your personality turnover? Do you know the engagement? All these different things you can actually connect together.
Yeah. I wonder how much of that's monitorship, but that would come back to time. So if they aren't being given enough resource to monitor all of that as well. So it's like
I've never had a problem with that, to be honest. I've never had a problem with not getting the right resources. Because then either I get the resources I need.
Exceptional.
Yeah.
Well, it's because you basically have to basically just use the triangle. You know, you have time. Let me see if I can remember my daft brain after 1.5 years. You have time, quality, and what is the third factor? Time. I always draw this triangle: time, quality, and I can't remember it right now. Speed. Time, quality, speed. So you can get something fast and high quality, but then it won't be cheap. You can get something, you can get something cheap, but then it won't be high quality. So based on what you have, what kind of budget you have, what kind of resources you have, you can always show the management what they're getting. If I'm being told I have to save a headcount, which is what you experience once in a while, then I'll just show you, okay, that's good. Then which part of this that we're doing don't you want us to do anymore?
Yeah,
because I can tell you exactly the amount. I can tell you exactly what percentage my recruiters are using on what. And I can tell you exactly how much it costs. And I can tell you exactly what kind of things that we're doing. Another factor is, for example, how many times...
It's easy for you.
Yeah.
It just goes back to this is easy for you. This is how you think. Like, you think differently.
I think recruitment as a business.
Yeah. That's why you need to put it in a book so we can all do that.
Is recruitment really a business?
No, recruitment is a business. Or this is how recruitment is a business. I don't know. It's interesting. It's just, I think I just feel that you need to share this. I appreciate where you're going with your business, but actually it'll get you business as well at the same time. Because you'll be like, because the people doing recruitment can use these tools, but it's that understanding of how we can think differently. Because a lot of the time it's like hiring managers hassling me, I need to get bum on seat. And that's what they're focused on.
Right. And I always comply with that. You know, when I start in a company, I usually tell my manager, you know, there's going to be some people that absolutely hate me. There's going to be some people that will love me. And then there's all the middle ones. But what I can guarantee you is when they've worked with me 1 or 2 times, then usually you'll have somebody who'll be a fan because they see the difference that I do. And they see the difference in information and the decision foundation that they get from what. And I talk business with them. That's the difference. Do you know when you go to hire for a manager? Do you know what his strategic goals are? You should. You should know what his business, what is worrying him. So when he tells you, you know, yeah, I lost John and I need a new John, and then you go like, okay, so is that your strategy? What kind of competencies did John have, and what do you need in the future? But if that's what you're saying, how does that match the strategy that you're doing right now? How does the task that you're describing to me, how does that match the picture? Can you try to explain that to me? And once you start having that conversation, they start to listen to you.
Right. And maybe they need someone different than John this time.
Exactly. Yeah.
And I think, again, that goes back to the how to do that. And I think a lot of recruiters just get handed a job description from the hiring manager.
They absolutely do.
That was from 2 years ago. And they don't push back. Because they don't know how to push back because they haven't been mentored like you've been mentored. Like there's a whole... Yeah, I just think there needs to be education in that space a lot.
But there isn't isn't it interesting? There's an HR education, but you don't get trained as a recruiter.
No.
It's learning by doing. So it really depends on who teaches you, doesn't it? And what if you're interested in getting knowledge from different sources. I mean, my eye opener was definitely seeing Jeff Grout at a like early in my career. I saw him doing a speaker session somewhere, and then I read his book, and that just inspired me to think recruitment as a business, and to take all the knowledge I had about businesses to put that into what I was doing.
What's the name?
And
of
I
the
love
book?
making business cases.
Yeah. What's the name of the book, Heidi?
It's called Recruiting Excellence. It's written by Jeff Grout and somebody else. I can't remember, Sarah or something.
Cool. Check that out.
It will really give you a lot of information that you can use in building your business cases.
Yeah. ROI, which is a challenge for so many people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's a challenge also because you're fighting it's I mean, I'm not saying that people are not skilled enough. I think a lot of people are simply don't have the necessary knowledge. You just don't know that you can do it differently.
It's been passed down. Yeah, but also it's and it's a bit like what Karen's just said here. If it's not just having the knowledge that you need the information, it's also having that little bit of audacity and fearlessness to say, no, this is not how I'm going to recruit for you. Exactly. So, and Karen had, it's the reason I did, by the way, she would push back. It's the reason I didn't stay more than 6 months in the Big Four company, because they never wanted to do briefings. You couldn't consult. And of course, everything would go to shit. That's not what she said. That was my interpretation of what she wrote. Audra is also making everybody hungry and thirsty in the side channel. This is why you should come on live. It's much more fun.
You brought it up.
Sorry?
It was Michael's fault, not mine.
No, you started with the pizza. She's incorrect. Sorry, we were using the triangle for food and drink.
Well, I can't. It's because Audra's feed completely stopped on the video, so I can't see what she's doing.
Oh, can you not see her? She's just smiling and looking pretty. Don't worry about her. It's some other comments going in the side channel that are quite funny. I don't know if you can see the chat channel. I don't know if it's open for you.
I can. I just don't have time to read it at the same time. I'm trying to say something smart here.
No, it's actually quite funny when we lose our guests, because you see them go over here and like, I've just asked a question and they're gone. Like, so I'm glad you're not. Okay. When that happens, it's quite amusing. But it does add to our Friday funny, doesn't it? It's going to be done like that.
It is Friday. So. Yeah.
Yeah. So have you ever been in that situation where your hiring manager is being an expletive? That's a good way of putting it. Where you like, how have you handled that? Because you know that you need to get the knowledge from them.
Oh yeah.
But they don't want to talk to you. So
I have tons of examples of that. Let me think. I had one manager. In one job that I had, it was voluntary whether or not the manager wanted to bring us with him to the interviews. Yeah. We could offer it, but if he said no, then he said no. And this particular manager, it took me 3 years before he invited me to an interview with him. Of course, when he did,
or to sit in on his interviews.
Actually,
he would just do the interviews without me, and then finally he asked me to. Yeah, he would do the interviews without me, and finally he invited me to do the interviews with him. And when we had the first candidate, I'll never forget that. When we had interviewed the first candidate, he basically just turned over and looked at me and he went, "Oh my gosh, I just have so much to learn." And I'm like thinking in myself, yeah, I knew that 3 years ago, but at least we're here now.
So what did you do during the 3 years? Bribe him with pizza as Audra would, or?
Well, I've had I actually, maybe I can give you another example, because I also had another manager who wouldn't use the necessary time to do the job analysis. And I call it a job analysis because it's not a job description. A job description will describe certain factors. A job analysis is a 360-degree profile on that particular job that takes into account the strategy, the goals, the KPI, all these things that you don't talk about in the job description. So I call it a job analysis. And she wouldn't do it, and she didn't want to do the kind of things that we needed to do in order to produce a good job ad, and in order to for me to be able to interview properly. And I basically said to her, you know what? I'm okay with that, but then you're doing it without me. I'll hear all the tools, everything. I'll post whatever you want, but I'm not doing it. And we had some heated discussion doing that, but I simply won't do it. Then they can do it on their own. And then, what they do is
and give them 3 months to cock it up, and then they'll come back and say, actually, Heidi.
Yeah. I also had a manager who went to me, and he was like, I really don't believe
I just think you were born with audacity. You see, it's like we just need to have a little Heidi audacity pill that we can give to people. Because you were just born like with this. This is the thing. I'm not all recruiters that audacious, if that makes sense. To actually say
I think
no.
The first thing is that you cannot be afraid of losing your job, to be quite honest.
And they are.
Yeah. And if you're afraid of losing your job, then you will most likely say yes to things that you're not happy with. So it's about knowing what your values are, what is important to you, and most of all, losing a job is not the end of the world. Obviously, if you're being an asshole, if I can say this, if you're being an asshole, that's a different thing. But if you're being professional, then in the end, and if you show what you're doing, obviously when I start to recruit with people, they don't know me. So what I do is I'm like, okay, I'll take them one step, and then I'll take them a next step, and then I'll take them a third step. And by the time we work together for a little bit of time, they start understanding the things that I do. And I think that's my forte in a way, is that I'm patient also. I'm extremely impatient in business, but I'm also patient in getting the people with me.
Yeah. Audra, what was your question?
Well, I'm just saying, it's nice to say you shouldn't be afraid of losing your job, but what if you're like a single mom, or you were the only breadwinner? It is scary.
Then you find the right job while you have one.
Yeah.
And then you make sure that you interview the people well enough to understand that it's the right place for you. I mean, obviously there are going to be times in your life where that's a thing. I mean, I was alone in my house in Malmö some years ago, and I couldn't afford to lose my job. Luckily, I was a good place, but sometimes it's like that. Sometimes you have a job you can't comply with, but then we have probably the best job market in years. It's also a matter of facing your own fears, and one of the mottos I have for myself is, what would you do if you weren't afraid? Because 80% of the decisions that we make on a daily basis are made out of fear.
Yeah.
I don't want to base my decisions on fear.
And it's that hilarious thing how we worry about it going this way, whereas it could go 1,000 different ways. But I do that. And we can create that by thinking it's going to happen that way, and then it does. It's like, but if we went, what else? You're getting some beautiful comments in the side channel of complete support as well. Michael Cox, who of course we adore. I used to be scared too, but now I'm like, come at me, bro.
Exactly.
I think I just did that in Kiwi, Karen, just for you. Okay, Mark's now self-employed and seeing real scary moments. Karen, I contracted for years. You get scared for sure, but you push back a bit and you see where you get. That's true, isn't it? Just push the comfort zone.
Exactly, and you don't have to change everything in a day. But if you start talking business, they will listen to you. If you start talking money, they will listen to you. If you know the key numbers of your company, they will listen to you. And if you know your skills, if you can, and of course you're always going to find. I mean, I had one manager who I had a big discussion. It was not my finest moment, but I had a big discussion with him about a job ad. And I was like, in the end, I was like, how many job ads have you written? And he was like, 4. And I'm just thinking to myself, gosh, I have an education in communication. I've written more than 100 job ads, and you still think you do a better job than me. Those are the days. That was not my finest moment, because I ended up having my manager call me and tell me that I should kind of shut up.
I think, Heidi, you and I may have had the same conversations in the office over the years. Katrina, pull your head in. Heidi, pull your head in. But it's for the greater good.
Exactly.
But I think you're right. It is finding the company that actually respects that, isn't it? That, you know, you do know what you're doing. And because you are talking business, you're coming across as professionals. So
exactly. And I think there's a handful of people who you know, I think it's a lot about how you communicate it, to be honest. Because if I had communicated differently, I would have gotten him on board. I was just stressed out and everything else, and you can't be that when you're trying to do a change process. But most of the people, they just kind of, it's really a revelation, especially when I do the job analysis with them. It's such a revelation for them. It's like, wow, you're asking me questions I haven't even thought about. And we start doing that, and you get them to reflect. That's the beauty of the moment. That's when they start to trust you.
Yeah. I so wish I'd talked to you while I was doing my intake strategy session chapter. Anyway, it's pretty good, but I'm sure you've got extra questions that could have gone in there. We'll have to have like a little, you know, another.
That's the second book.
An addendum to the book. So
I can see what Mark says, how being self-employed or a consultant, that terrifies me. But some people think it's amazing and it's for them. But that's some real fear when you don't know if, you know, next quarter you're going to have clients or money coming in. A lot of people love that, but I couldn't do that. It takes the right personality, I guess.
I think
it definitely.
Walking away from a paycheck was one of the hardest things I ever did. But now it's like I could not be employed. And that was reinforced to me, actually, over the last week or so. That yes, freedom is like a drug. Yeah. I don't have to answer to anyone. I don't have to be told you can't do this for some stupid reason that makes no sense to me. I don't have to put up with the office politics.
But you gave up a lot of security too, though.
I gave up a lot.
Yeah.
I mean, financially, I certainly have given up a lot. So, but I don't mind, because I think the freedom and the travel and I've just been in Kuwait. Last week I was in Seattle. It's like, you know.
But the thing is cool. Also, I mean, one thing is of course you need a certain amount of money to live, but what we consider living can be different things. And I remember when I decided to walk away from a job that I had only been in for a year, because basically what I was doing was recruiting between 35 and 45 positions at the same time, which is not the way I want to do quality. And I was looking at it. Okay, if I became unemployed and I was getting the unemployment check from the state that we get here in Denmark, and with the economy that I have, this would be an amount I had over. And I'm thinking, you know what? I do not work for money. If I can just get food and I can get dinner on the table and I can pay my bills, then I don't care. I do not work for money. It's just not who I am. It's never been a value to me. And
actually that's a lot of it as well, Audra, as well. I mean, you're in a different situation to me. You know, I've got 2 dogs, you've got 2 children. It's a bit different. But that thing as well, if you really are doing that thing that you're super enthusiastic about and is your flow and the easy thing, the money just comes anyway. Just because you're doing something for greater good, which is quite cool. Just really quickly, because we're running out of time. We could talk all day. Speaking of things for greater good, so of course I run Disrupt HR, and Jonathan from Job Video actually does the videoing, and he's our guest next week, and he's going to talk about recruitment videos, which Audra would love. So we're going to have a lot of fun with that. And other ways you can use them as well. They do chatbot videos and all sorts of stuff, so it should be quite fun. So sorry, I just wanted to throw that in because it was a beautiful segue from what we were talking about.
Back to what we were talking about. There's been quite a lot of research I've heard of, not recently, but that you only need a certain amount of money, and it's not even that high, and any more doesn't actually make you happier at all. But it's funny because we're always chasing, like, I want to raise, I want a promotion,
money doesn't make you happy.
Yeah.
Happy comes from within. Yeah, happy's a choice. I just overly simplified that.
But you don't think like that, even though it's true, because you don't think, I want a different job, I'm going to take a pay cut. No one thinks they want that.
No.
But in general, people are excited about that idea. But maybe they...
Yeah, I think to do that dream job, I think I've heard of people taking pay cuts recently.
No, and I think that happens, but it's not. You think it's so much more important than it is. I think the pay.
I think it depends on the situation. There go the babies again.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I was zoning out because I could just hear that he was.
It's good practice for him for next week.
Yeah, I know. It's really stressful when I can hear it in the background. But yeah, I completely agree that happiness is a choice in most cases, and to me. But I also think some people do get happy by money because money can buy you things. Money, and if that's what if your happiness comes from externalization, from things outside yourself, then you're always going to chase the next goal. You're always going to chase the next thing.
Yeah.
But the moment for me, true happiness is when it starts to come from the inside, when you start to realize, for me, true happiness is not everything out there. It's what I feel inside. It's what makes me happy. And that's one of the things when I recruited here, I gave myself I was like, I hope I'm in a job before summer, but I gave myself a whole year because I just don't want to work for a company where I don't match the values.
Yeah.
And I know that limits my choices, but we rearranged loans in the house. We did different things, and I'm thinking that's it. I mean, then we'll just have to scale down some stuff.
Yeah, that's what it is sometimes, isn't it?
Yeah. So exciting that you started on Monday.
Again, what did you say? Sorry.
Just so exciting that you start on Monday. Your new adventure.
Yeah. That's so weird. You just leant in and we could hear you. When you were sitting back, we couldn't. That is so weird, Audra. Maybe your microphone's not plugged in fully or something. How weird. So are you counting down? Are you ready? Have you got your new pens? You polished your shoes? You know, it's like first day at school.
I just ironed my shirts today. No, I'm ready. I'm excited. It's going to be a new life, but I feel confident that I feel kind of confident with the environment and my new boss, the CEO.
Yeah.
And that to me is if I have the right company and the right manager, then I know I can perform. It's just it's the way it is for me, and everything that I've seen so far just makes me more excited. Yeah, we had a team. We had a team dinner last week. And I cannot honestly remember laughing so much in like 10 years with colleagues. It was nonstop. Cool. I was crying with laughter, and that just gave me such a good feeling to know that I'm starting there on Monday.
Yeah. Well, we all want to take the test because we want to know how accurate it is. Because of course we're all very self-aware, all of the people on this show. So Audra just dropped a bombshell that she was meant to keep until after the show, but we're not allowed to actually read it and react to it at all. So those who are listening to the podcast, see, this is why you should tune it in. Anyway, we're out. We're done. We're out of time. I can't believe how fast that went. Thank you for outsourcing the baby feeding to your husband so you could come and join us here and share. I mean, my gosh, all that wisdom. So I've written just so many notes. I can't wait to go back and re-listen to it. So
I'm so super excited that I was allowed to be on here, Audrey and Katrina. It's just been.
What do you mean allowed? We let anyone on as long as they're fun. All welcome, all welcome. We're very inclusive here on the Social Recruiting Show. But thank you. God, so much wisdom. I want that book. I'm going to make that happen.
Thank you, guys. I really appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Thanks, and good luck for
everybody who was writing all those nice comments. Thank you very much.
You need to go reread them.
Feel free to connect with me, and feel free to connect with me, and feel free to ask me any questions. I'll be happy to inspire.
Well, you definitely do that for sure. Anyway, thank you. Have a good weekend, everybody. Thanks, Audra. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.